The Ravens go to LA and defeat the Chargers 30-23 on Monday Night Football, led behind Lamar Jackson's 177 yards passing for two touchdowns in the air. The Ravens move to 8-4 with the win. Chargers go to 7-4. John Harbaugh moves to a 3-0 record against his brother Jim. Keys, you asked for a win, you got it. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we talked about it when we broke this game down. We just wanted some consistency, man. We just wanted them to, to be the team that we know they can be. Play consistent football on all three phases of the game. And really, and lay on people, be a physical force. We I think in Pittsburgh you got out physical. You got out tough. You got out man. So I think that was, I don't know if that was the message in practice, but you could tell the Ravens came out with, they want to be a more physical team yesterday. They wanted to knock people around and throw people around. So yeah, I'm like I said, I'm content. Like, I mean, as a Ravens fan, I get this, at this point, you're 8-4, you're not satisfied. Like, we know what the bigger picture is, but you are content. You are happy that you're able to bounce back after tough, the way you played in Pittsburgh to come out. It's never easy to win the road in the NFL. I don't care. It's not easy to win against a good team. The Chargers are a decent team. I mean, they may be a year or two away from getting where they went, their first year coaching staff, Justin Herbert in a new system. So they're a year or two away, but they're going to be a good team. They got dynamic pieces at the major positions. But we're going to talk about more about Quentin Johnson by my ass, but they got key contributors at each position. I'm like I said, my key to the game was Lamar bouncing back, and he did just that. He played well. Being down 10-0, you saw no panic. To your point, throughout the season, Nick, when they get down, they start changing the game plan. They start throwing the ball. I thought they didn't do that yesterday. They stuck to the game plan. They stuck to what they had to do. You get down 10-0. You on the roll. You got to take that first punch. That's what happens. You missing Roquan. It was expected. It was expected that they was going to come out and throw a punch as to how you responded, how you was going to take it. And as far as the, we get on John Harbaugh a lot, but he coached well yesterday. I'll give him that. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. He did enough to win. He did enough not to lose the damn game. Put it like that. And he made some gutsy calls, which is appreciated. Because without them calls, the Ravens don't win the game. The way the game was trending without them calls and them situations, the Ravens don't win a game. And shout out to them for executing them. Shout out to them for getting the third down, the fourth down. We talked about it coming in intangibles. What are you running on third and 1? What are you running on 4th and 1? What are you running on 3rd and 5? What are you doing to get to 3rd and 5? So I think they played the intangible game very well. No turnovers. And the defense is getting better, man. Shout out to we got on 40. We got on Malik all season long. He played his ass off yesterday. And that's all you could really ask for. I think he was a little tentative in the first half. We all saw him, on that J.K. long run. That hit J.K. long run to the right. That he was tentative. He ain't played the whole. So whoever got in his ear at halftime, whoever taught him at halftime, because he was definitely playing downhill in the second half. And as a young player, so you need just play downhill, man. Just you can't really get into it where I'm supposed to be at. You got to play with your instincts with a young player like that. Shout out to Nate Wings. I want to see a lot more of Nate. He's so physical, and that's what he's basically like, I'm lying out right here. Either you're gonna beat me deep or you're not gonna beat me. Like I'll allow you to get the 5 to 10 yard pass, whatever catch. I'll tackle you. But I'm jamming you at the line. I'm hitting you at the line. I'm not playing off. That's the type of cornerback I like. I don't like the Brandon Stevens play 10 off and you still get in trail position. Because he was a mess yesterday. Brandon Stevens was still a mess yesterday. But no, it's a good win, man. And you like I said, with the Steelers coming off that loss, they opened the door back for you for the division. They opened it back up for you, and you went in there and you took advantage of it. So shout out to the team. Like, as a fan of the team, following the team for 12 games now, is a great bounce back win. I'm used to this team responding like this, but with a coach like John Harbaugh, you never know. So the fact you go in there, sentimental value against your brother, and you able to come out with a W, and your team, the Ravens looked good yesterday on offensive game. Individually, some players probably shouldn't be playing, but shout out to the offensive line. They played well. They pretty much kept Lamar clean. The receivers, they made plays when they had to make the plays. The tight ends were blocking. So, the one thing I'm taking out of this game that I'll pass to you, Nick, is, we got to get these penalties on the wraps, man. 9 penalties for 100 yards. That's ridiculous. They keep leading the league in these penalties, and they happen in big situations when you're trying to go off the field on third down. After you get a 10-yard run, you get a holding penalty. Fucking Patrick Ricard's leg whipping. I don't even know where they teach that at. Like, why are you doing stuff like that? And it's just like, that's the part of the coaching, like intangibles. Get that together. This team, I think everybody realized, like, we have the talent. We just got to get it together. We got to be consistent. And if you start being consistent, you'll be fine. But the lead the league in penalties, and you were coaching your 17 years, ridiculous, man. And your 16, 17 years is ridiculous. Like that, you should not be leading the league in penalties. Like, you should be one of the most disciplined teams in the league, and the Ravens are not. And it's going to come back and bite them. Hopefully they clean it up before it does, but it's looking like it's going to come back to bite them. They couldn't overcome the penalties in Pittsburgh, but they overcame them yesterday. But 9 for 102 is a lot. And granted, a lot of them happened on our last drive when they were just calling a bunch of bull crap, but that's still a lot of penalties, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree on all those points. I mean, good win. Obviously, the Chargers, if you look at like kind of their schedule and what they are as a team, I agree. I don't think this is the final version of the Chargers or what they envision themselves to be in the future. I think they've been really fortunate, right? I think they're very well coached. I think the way they approach football games from a strategic standpoint is conducive to minimizing your chances to lose, right? So time of possession, running the ball, playing good defense, it's a familiar formula, and it's tried and true as far as regular season games. And you look at their schedule, wins against Las Vegas, Carolina, losses versus Pittsburgh and Kansas City, beating Bo Nix in the first quarter of his career, losing to Arizona on the road, beating New Orleans, Cleveland, Tennessee, barely beating a bad Cincinnati team, and then losing to us in a close game last night. I mean, they really don't have a whole lot of signature wins. So when I look at, the Chargers, I don't put them on some pedestal as far as an AFC, juggernaut, but they're a solid team. We went on the West Coast on the road and beat a solid team, well-coached team. So you have to give kudos there. As far as the defense is concerned, I still have a lot of concerns, but it seems like we've made some strategic adjustments and some personnel adjustments to at least give ourselves a better shot. You look at what transpired last night. I don't think that's something you look at and say, wow, this defense is surely turning itself around. No. If you look at Quentin Johnson, he dropped a lot of yards on the field, dropped a lot of first downs, and killed drives. He was a drive killer. He was the opposite of our old friend Patrick Queen. You guys used to call him the drive extender. Well, Quentin Johnson's the opposite. He's the drive killer. You put him in when you want to fuck something up. And that's exactly what happened to the Chargers. So it wasn't something that the Ravens were doing. He was open in all those attempts and targets. He just couldn't catch the ball. And when you have that situation and you have your best receiver being Ladd McConkey, who's a small slot receiver, the guy is nice. He can run a route. He can catch. He understands placement on a football field and where to get open and how to get open, but he's still small. He's still a slot receiver. He can only take you but so far. And you look at the amount of weapons Herbert has, and this isn't an excuse. You look at the amount of weapons Herbert has. It's kind of they never were an explosive team, right? We're not going up against the Bengals who have explosion all over the field. Like they always were a methodical team that just converted at a high rate in the red zone. We did a good job trying to keep them out the red zone, forcing them to long field goals to kick the 40-yarder and 252-yard field goals. So we did a good job keeping them out of that red area. We did a lot of bending and not breaking, which is good. But you have to keep things in perspective. If when we make the playoffs, we're not worried about teams like the Chargers. You know what I mean? We're pretty comfortable around, against a team like that or the Houston Texans or so on and so forth. But when we start talking about teams with playoff experience, teams with explosion, teams with great defenses, not good defenses, not decent defenses, great defenses, that's when we start to have these conversations as far as what type of team will we be and what type of team will show up. So, this win against the Chargers, happy for it. Happy to see Malik Harrison play well. He was the highest graded Ravens defender, according to PFF. Played a team high 73 snaps. And he made a career high 12 tackles. You can't speak down on Malik Harrison's performance when he's stepping in for Roquan and giving you that type of production. He's had a rough go at it in certain instances, but sometimes, you know, you putting in the right position, putting your best position, and, you know, you can show what you can do for a team. And we'll kind of have to see where he slots in once Roquan comes back, right? But for right now, he looked like he could be at least someone who can be an adequate replacement while he mends and heals. We don't have to force him back too quickly. It's not doom and gloom on that side of the ball as far as at that position. Shout out to Brandon Stevens and Trey White. You know, they had, you know, decent games, so to speak. I still think all of them can be had. You know, the penalties were flying last night on the defensive side of the ball too. And if it wasn't for offsetting penalties at certain points, you know, it would look a lot worse. But again, you know, the Chargers aren't the most explosive team, so I really wasn't expecting them to be beating us over the top or having these long explosive plays. That's just not who they are right now. And when your most explosive player is Quentin Johnson, God help us all. Marlon Humphrey played great, but he's been playing great all season. That's another reason why, again, I didn't expect the Chargers to do but so much. I thought, you know, it was going to be the game that it was. It was going to be a tough, grinded out game. When it was a tough, grinded out game on both sides, you know, the Ravens didn't start out particularly fast, right? So they had to get and feel their way into the game. And, you know, I think it was like that on both sides. So, but when you have somebody like Marlon Humphrey who's playing that well, and on the flip side, your best receiver is a slot receiver, you kind of see what happened. You take out Lad McConkey or reduce his impact, and then you're just telling people like Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnson to beat you. That's a pretty good strategy. But again, you know, it comes down to the offense had to score 30 points again. You know, for us to win, the offense has to score 30 points. And regardless of who we play, I think that's going to be the recipe. You know, we talked about it, you know, the last several weeks. If we can get this defense to just be marginal, you know, just be a decent defense or be something, you know, we just need them to make a couple plays, right? And last night they made a couple plays, you know, forcing field goals, you know, key third down stops, you know, interception. Like, we did what we needed to do to get off the field at certain points of the game and to limit damage. And that's all you need to do with the type of offense that we have. And once we started going on offense, you know, we were scoring, you know, once we started scoring, we didn't stop scoring. We were scoring every possession. So, you know, you have to look at Todd Monken, though, and look at the team as a whole for the slow starts. I've talked about slow starts repeatedly, and it continues to happen. We were down 10-0 and couldn't muster any offense. And against the better teams, not just the good teams, against the very good and great teams, you can't just go out there and sleepwalk for a quarter and then rev it up. No, you got to get revved up from the beginning. So we're going to have to work on that. That's going to be something that the best teams are going to see a trend of. And in the playoffs, what are they going to say? They're going to say, we need to blitz them. If we can jump out to an early lead, we can put the pressure on them and have them panic, because we've seen them do that in the past. And that's going to be everybody's goal. So we're going to have to work hard as far as to not only start out fast, but also defensively not allow teams to get up on fast starts against us. But other than that, man, I think it was a good win. It was a much needed win. It was definitely a must win as we look at what's on the horizon with the Eagles coming into town. We had to make sure we held down the fort and took care of business versus an AFC opponent, a playoff seeded AFC opponent. So keep it up. You know, the Eagles is going to be a tough game, but you know, we'll talk about that soon. But we have a tough one ahead of us, and it was good to just get this win and secure our playoff spot as far as being that much closer to doing so.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just get to 8-4, especially given the result last Thursday with the Browns and Steelers game. So just being able to go out on Monday night, get the win on LA on the road. Big win from the Ravens yesterday. Proud of the win. But the slow starts, I think you alluded to, Nick. This team hasn't scored in 5 of the past 6 quarters. 5 of the past 6 first quarters, I'm sorry. And that could potentially pose a problem going down the stretch. especially when you get in the playoff game, the possessions and the game shortened. If you're down 10-0, it could get scary real quick. 14-0, it could get scary real quick. So this team's going to have to figure out ways to kind of ignite this offense early and often and get them going, because it's nice to see them still put up 30 points in 3 quarters, but let's try to get that going early and put some pressure on the other team. Because luckily that defense got, like you said, held them to some field goals and was able to keep it at 10-0. And even still, I mean, giving up the field goal before the half and getting it to 14-13, like the Chargers had every chance to potentially win this game last night. But when you got LJ on the other side and he's making plays, I think the running backs had a huge game yesterday. Ravens really stuck to the game plan, like he said. You look at him being down 10-0 and still coming out on that third possession and running the football. And what happens? You have 2 runs that Derrick Henry has for 32 yards to start that drive. And that's what really kick-started that drive and ultimately led to the Lamar touchdown. So what I'm looking for, you know, they continue to build. I mean, you ask for Bateman. I mean, he makes the play. He makes the contested catch, but it's still too many penalties. I mean, you have the early catch to Aguilar, which would have moved the sticks, got this offense going early. It's a penalty. And so we've talked about it last week, even with the Pittsburgh game. These penalties, these plays are first downs, and now you're in these 1st and 25s. Like you can't run the ball in 1st and 25 at that point. You become one dimensional, and so the quicker that they can clean this up, the better this team can potentially be. But I really think that this team has to start quicker, especially against the Eagles team, who also was infamous for slow starts as well. So if you can kind of put some pressure on them early, given the potency of our offense, you could potentially make it a long day for them this coming Sunday.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Now, about to say, I mean, just about the quick starts. Yeah, like I agree, Monk then with the play calling, but Lamar, he got to be more in tune at the beginning of the game. He's missing a lot, so that's part of them slow starts too. Miss Zay wide open, even on the Aguilar catch with the penalty, it was high until he started. Eventually started driving the ball in, and it got better. But that's part of them slow starts too. He just got to focus in a little bit earlier. Just be ready to go. Just to realize how you trying to attack him early. But he was just off the beginning of the game. But once he got on, it was a wrap.
And I agree with that. We do have to look at Lamar's portion of that as far as accountability is concerned. He was missing a lot of throws high, and that was similar to last week. You just got to settle down, and a lot of that is probably just the nerves or just like the magnitude of the game. Like, you know, obviously last week was Steelers week. This week it was the HarBowl Bowl. Monday Night Football, so I can get why he's a little excited out there, but we got to settle that down because in a playoff game, it's going to be the same atmosphere. So we need Lamar's best from, you know, when the clock strikes 15 and the game starts. So, but I also wanted to give kudos to John Harbaugh. And in that HarBowl Bowl, we saw John Harbaugh we've never seen before. We saw John Belichick, you know what I mean? Like John Gruden. Like that was some shit I've never seen before. To have the balls to go for it at your 16-yard line, if you don't get it, it would have been bad, right? Like everybody would have been like, "Oh my God, do you see why would he do such a thing?" So you have to be right. That's one of the
Brandon Staley. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I thought the Chargers fired Brandon Staley. How did he get on the Baltimore sideline? But the good thing about it is when you execute, you know, you can make people look right even when they're wrong, right? And you got to give the kudos to Harbaugh for having the balls to make that call, Monken to have the balls to select the right play call in that situation, and the offensive line to have the balls to get the push. Right, and the offensive line has played a lot better over this last month or so, so much to the point where once we got that solid 5, when Voorhees went down and we kind of reconstructed, you know, where we wanted to play certain people. Once we did that, the offensive line has become a strength. So now we have the confidence on the 4th down that we can get a hard yard. And I think there was another 4th down later in the game in which we gave the ball to Derrick Henry and he was able to get us what we needed there. So situationally, I think the play calling was a lot better because, you know, you harken back to that 4th down call last week, you know, a whole bunch of deception, a whole bunch of razzle dazzle. You know, we got back to just being smash mouth and physical. So this fourth down on our 16, what do we do? Tush push with tight end Mark Andrews and Derrick Henry leading the tush push from the back. Pause. Right? Wow.
We don't have a soundboard. That's a great thing. We got the soundboard because we definitely need the spooky noise for that.
Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Derrick Henry had a carry. There was no need for that. He was able to just get the yards, right? So
right.
We were physical and we showed it, and that's the identity we need to have, especially with this O-line. We need to be able to get those tough short yardage situations, because you think about it, you have Lamar, you have Derrick Henry. That's a marriage for short yardage situations on third down, you would think. Mm-hmm. So more often times than not, we're going to have to execute in that short yardage part of the field, and I think we did a great job there. So you have to give kudos to the coach. I wish hopefully he takes some of this moxie that he has versus his brother and uses it versus other coaches and other teams. Because yesterday he was a benefit to the Ravens and not a detriment.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about the Ravens 3 for 3 yesterday on fourth down efficiency. A lot of that goes to, like you said, the Lamar Derrick Henry combination. They said that's the first time a team has converted a fourth down that deep in their own territory since 2012, when the Rams did it on a fake punt. So definitely uncharted territory for John Harbaugh. Also uncharted territory for Jim Harbaugh. His first game that he's given up, a team of his has given up 200 plus rushing yards. So I know Keys yesterday, when I pulled up, he had some tape, and he kind of showed that the Chargers, they were kind of small in the middle, their linebackers. And if he was able to get downhill on them, it could potentially be a long day. You kind of saw that with Derrick Henry, especially as he closed the game. It's like he double stiff armed somebody and really put them in a blender. But that's what you want to see from the Ravens, just getting back to physical football, but with a touch of finesse. And I think that's kind of what you saw last night against an AFC West opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think sports. I mean, of course, being the best athlete in the world and taking care of your body is, that's God bless. But I don't think sports is that complicated, dog. I think you need to do what the other team don't do well. When you look at the Chargers on the tape, they thin up front, they hella thin on the defensive line. They're linebacker, they play a lot of nickel, they keep 6 defensive backs on the field at all times. They was literally playing too high safety for the majority of the game. Just run the ball. And that's what the Ravens did. Like, it's not hard to do that. And that's where I game plans from teams to game need to change. Whereas you couldn't run that game plan against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh didn't play the type of defense, whereas the pass game had to be better, and it wasn't. We already talked about that as far as Lamar not playing well. The Ravens, if the offense played well, Lamar played well in Pittsburgh, they beat him. So it's just game by game where, San Diego, Los Angeles, the Chargers didn't show you the same looks that Pittsburgh. So you was able to run the ball. You was able to do that. I don't know what the Eagles going to show you next week, but if they call for running the ball, run the ball. If they don't call for running the ball, stay honest with it, but throw the ball. I think the Ravens are well enough equipped offensively to see what you have a game plan coming in. We get that. See what the defense is giving you and make adjustments. And that's all you have to do is make adjustments. That's the league is about making adjustments. And I think offensively, they're talented enough to make any adjustment they need to make to win the game.
I agree with you there, and I think Monken agrees with you too. The issue is we'll get into those situations where we're playing a more physical team, and then we'll forget that we're playing a more physical team, and then people say, why didn't we run the ball more? Well, we're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not just going to let us just run the pill 25 times with Derrick Henry up the middle, that or on the edge. Like, that's just not going to happen. They're going to stop us from doing the things that we like to do. So how do we win a game in a different way? Exactly. But sometimes we don't execute in those situations, and then we revert back to saying we should have ran the ball more. It's easy to run the ball against the Chargers. They're a small team. It was easy the ball against the Bills because they're a finesse small team. The teams that we struggle with, the teams that give us issues and force us out of our run game, are physical.
A good defense.
So I don't care about beating the Chargers. I be caring about how we look against the teams that give us trouble. Because a finesse team ain't gonna give us trouble. We've already proven that. That's something that that's already on our resume and our jacket. That's why we're so successful in the regular season, because there's not too many teams that can out physical us. There's a couple. There's not many of them. And the Chargers aren't one of them. So I agree with you 100%, man. Styles make fights.
Exactly. You just gotta be. I mean, like I said, like. We made it great. You was not going to be able to run the ball 30 times Derrick Henry. It just wasn't going to happen. And like you said, when the offensive game plan don't go well as far as throwing the ball, then like you said, the fans come back. We should have ran. No, that wasn't the game plan. The niggas ain't play well. That's what I mean. They just didn't play well. That's what down to.
The people was open. The reads was there. Lamar just ain't make them last week.
And like you said, yeah, on the film you can see the charges. Like it was the Ravens could have ran for 300 last night if they ain't start throwing the ball. They could have ran for 300. They tried to throw the ball, and the game didn't call for that.
Anytime you at your
James Conner had a field day on them.
Anytime you at your own 16 and you like, man, we can get this yard on these niggas. There's no respect there. You know what I'm saying? Like to sit there and make that call and say y'all can't stop us from getting a yard. That's an indictment on the Chargers and how they felt about that defensive line and that defensive front in general. I don't think they make that call versus TJ Watt and them boys over there. I just or the Chiefs.
It's different, yeah. Not with Chris Jones in the middle. You don't make
those type of calls. So again, styles make fights, but I do like to see, to Key's point and to Key's your point, sticking with what we knew was best to do for this game and not letting that dictate or what happened in the first quarter when not, being down 10-0, not letting that dictate how we proceed. When you have the matchup, when you have the mismatch, you have to exploit it. And we had the mismatch last night. They couldn't do nothing with Derek, and they couldn't do nothing with Lamar, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's why I hate when the national media say, "Oh, this is the way the Ravens got to win. They got to run Derek." Yeah, of course, if you're running Derek, if you're running Derek Henry more than Lamar, he's successful. More than likely, you're running the ball for a lot of yards. That's probably why that's happening. Like you probably up and you land on them. So of course they're gonna have. And they say the Ravens are not smart when sometimes you can't. Like you said, you're just not going to sit back there and run the ball for 20 times and get 150 yards. That's not going to be every team. You're probably not going to be able to do the next week against the Eagles. They're not going to allow you to sit back there and just run the ball and toss to Derrick Henry and run the ball. You're going to be able to have to throw the ball at some point in time, as we've seen in the AFC Championship game against Kansas City. You're going to be able to throw the ball. So, in the point of getting to the playoffs, getting to that point is you got to at some point in during the regular season, you got to get in a situation where you got to throw the ball. And it got to be practice. You can't just come out here and keep the same game plan for 17 weeks let's run Derrick Henry more. Because to your point, Nick, Keith, to everybody's point, when you get in the playoffs and that gets shut down, what the hell do you do at this point? So I think now is the first season where we thought we was equipped last year. I think we're a little bit better equipped to handle it this year. But we saw it in Pittsburgh last week. We saw it in Kansas City week 1. What the hell happens? We don't adjust.
Talk out to you.
And on another note, the Lamar conversations from the national media, it's nasty a little bit because even if you look at last game, Derrick Henry was an important factor, but Derrick Henry ain't throw that back shoulder pass to Rashad Bateman. I ain't see Derrick do that. And Lamar was doing a lot of things to make sure that we won the football game last night. And just making a lot of critical plays. In critical moments. Not saying Derrick Henry isn't our road dog and he isn't our accomplice in this stuff, but to act like just handing the ball off to Derrick is just like this magical elixir. Eight is that guy, and I think a lot of there's a lot of voter fatigue and just a lot of fatigue around his name, consistently having to put him and MVP in the same sentence. I know it's hard, but he played MVP level football last night too, and the only times in which we lose is the games in which he semi-struggles. He semi-struggled versus Pittsburgh and still played better than Russell.
Still had a chance to win the game. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 110%. Like the fact that they out here saying that's his legacy, the Super, like, come on, man. And then Shannon Sharp, like, yeah, we Shannon Sharp talking about, yeah, we thank you, Troy, for saying that. Like, no, like, okay, we understand we want him to win a Super Bowl, but it ain't our job to say what his legacy. That's it. I'm pretty sure he is harder on himself than anybody else. If that's his job to say, okay, I ain't win a Super Bowl, my legacy is not what it's going to be. But
we shouldn't even talking about legacy.
Talking about that, man.
At age 27, we shouldn't talk about legacy at age 27.
He's a 2-time MVP. He's going to be first ballot Hall of Famer. Like Super Bowl, he'll get there. It'll happen. He's only 27 years old, but to keep on saying, like I said, like you said, it's not.
And if you don't, God forbid, he's Dan Marino.
Right. Exactly. It's so, like I said, and like you said, everybody
still ain't saying nothing like him ever.
We saw tweets earlier. Like they don't put.
God forbid he didn't play with Ray Lewis, and he couldn't be Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, exactly. Like we don't put this narrative around everybody, all the other quarterbacks, man. It's only around Lamar Does his legacy define this, that? Like, I don't
Nick
hear the same
Foles.
talk about Josh Allen.
It's his fault that he ain't Nick Foles.
Yeah, like I don't hear the same talk about the Josh Allens and all them. Man, why not? Like, what have they? I don't hear this. I mean, Joe Burrow been to a Super Bowl, but I don't say is his legacy defined because they won a Super Bowl. Like he the same age or younger than him. So why he get talked about like this?
Jalen Hurts, all of them.
Yeah, it's like because they have never seen nothing like it, and instead of just appreciating goddamn greatness, they try to tear it down. And it's sad that it comes from the people that look like them the most.
But then in other instances, they use race as a shield.
Exactly.
When they're beefing with Skip Bayless. But anyway, yeah, man, the Ravens just got to keep doing what they're doing, and I think we're putting the building blocks down. I mean, again, we got a tough stretch coming up, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but I mean, that's why this game is important.
Who's after the Eagles?
You got your bye week, then you got the Giants, Steelers, Texans, Browns.
That ain't an easy schedule, especially ending with the Browns. Now, the playoff implications might be already solved by that point, but we don't traditionally play the Browns that well. And the Browns, they seem like they're enjoying playing spoiler. Jameis and them, they seem like, and Jameis is playing for his next deal, his next contract, like his next opportunity. And all them boys is hungry over there. Jerry Judy. Go ahead.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say, the one thing I say is I think they're capable of going and winning every one of those games, especially if they jump started with this win against Philly and U9-4 going into the Giants game coming out the bye week. It makes that Steelers game all that more important because, I mean, we've talked about it previously. A lot of times we playing this team week 18 with nothing on the line. Well, it's going to be a lot on the line when we play them in a few weeks. And just a chance for Lamar. I feel like he don't even play the Steelers at home. So just a chance to play them at home and get right, and because some get back is due.
That's a good point and good topic. So as far as that is concerned, how do you look at that game versus the Steelers? Because we got a gift a couple of days ago when Cleveland was able to beat Pittsburgh in that snow game. We kind of canceled out our loss to the Steelers and pretty much put us in the position that we were prior to the Steelers' loss, which is one game back with the ability to play them to even up the record, right? So how do you guys feel about the upcoming matchup? That does put even more, I won't say pressure, but it puts more onus on us to handle business against the Eagles and then coming out the bye to beat the Giants, right? To keep pace with them. How y'all feel about that upcoming matchup?
Me personally, I feel good about it.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead, my fault.
No, I was just gonna say if the Ravens come out and play how the Ravens capable of playing, the Ravens that I know they are, we'll beat the Steelers. I mean, despite the 2 missed field goals, all the penalties, all of that last week, you still
right there.
You still a 2-point conversion away from being right in the game and taking it in overtime. So it's a matter of the Ravens staying out the way. And I think it's funny that Bill Belichick says that almost every week. If the Ravens don't beat the Ravens, they are a damn good team. And I mean, you see it. I mean, even yesterday with the illegal formation, that's stuff that's stuff you got to clean up because even Bill Belichick called it in real time. Why isn't Harbaugh seeing that in real time, or even Lamar, as Keys has alluded to? Why isn't he seeing that in real time to say, hey, either you gotta get up on the line or we gotta call a timeout and fix it.
It sounded like Bill like, yo, I would coach that out of Lamar if y'all had me over there.
Pretty much. Because I mean, because as much as they want to say Harbaugh, that's your quarterback. You use quarterbacks know everybody lined up. Cole came off you on the line. Get on the line. I've seen Peyton Manning and Tom Brady do that 1,000 times. And Big Dan, we not lined up. Take a step back. Get your team lined up. Get on the line. So yeah,
I just gave Harbaugh a compliment, but those are the instances where coach steps in and say, hey, this is what you need to look for because I noticed that pre-snap. This is something you need to notice.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if Bill's talking about it pre-snap, I feel like that's something he will correct.
And it was so easy to just correct, like just get on the line. He clearly wasn't on the line. But I like I said, like you said, if they play well, I think the Ravens capable of beating anybody they play well. Steelers got our number, so it's gonna be tough. They gonna have to do something to get that monkey off their back. But like I said, I can't even. I feel okay about it because, like I said, it's a couple weeks. We got him at home. Lamar, we'll have Lamar, playing or whatever. Like I said, he usually don't play at home against them. But I can't even think about it because I got Sunday, man. I can't even. Like,
hold on. Can y'all say the schedule, the upcoming schedule again? Because I want y'all to today just say what's your projected win-loss total for us.
I mean, we got the Eagles at home. We got a bye week.
I think we beat the Eagles.
I think so too. We go to the Giants, which I think is a win. You got Pittsburgh at home.
Toss up, I guess.
Which is the one toss up. Then you on the road for Houston.
Win.
Which I think is a win, the way they've been looking. And then you back at home for Cleveland to wrap the season up. Which, I mean, with all the money on the table, I'm taking us.
So we're talking about potentially one loss in that?
4-1.
If
with the potential to be 5-0.
All right, so I asked that because I'm looking at the Steelers right now at Cincinnati this week. Then Cleveland.
We'll talk about that, but I think that's a tough game for them, Cincinnati.
At Philadelphia, at Baltimore, us.
Home against the Chiefs.
Home against the Chiefs on Christmas, and home against Cincinnati to close the season. I don't know if that's a one loss. I don't know if that's a one loss schedule.
I don't think it is. But Cincinnati probably playing for a chance to get in.
I mean, they've been talking about in the Pittsburgh national media. A lot of people were saying 2-4, 3-3, with that schedule. But
I'll take it.
A lot of people, yeah, a lot of people. I mean, but like I said, we say that
to me.
Right. We said it about them. We said it about them games that we know what type of team they are. And it's games that they just find a way to win this shit. It's a game where Sunday they should have no business competing with the Bengals on a desperate Bengals team. But we'll look up in the fourth quarter and the Steelers will be up by 3, or they'll be within the score. Like that, it always happens. But it's a game where when you've seen the Steelers live more than once and you've seen the Bengals live, you know it's a difference between the Bengals offensive unit and the Steelers defensive unit where they should not be to stop them. Now the Bengals get out there and start turning the ball over and playing bad football, and it's also where they keep saying the Bengals defense is so bad, but you gotta have the means to take advantage of it, and I don't think the Steelers do. I don't think it's other teams that's gonna put numbers up, i.e. the Ravens, the Chargers. It seems like, but I don't think that the Steelers have the means to go out and score 30, 35 points against them. Not no more, not since they got the tape on Russell Wilson.
You're not gonna run it down on the Bengals. I mean that's
not division anyway.
Not in the division. They're gonna box Najee in. Can Russell make the throws? Can they stop the go balls? Can Cam Taylor-Britt contain Pickens? Can you stop Calvin Austin from getting slippery? Because he's been getting loose he's been getting loose all damn season, if we're being honest. And making some gut-wrenching catches. So that's gonna be the question. But I think the way the Bengals are set up, if the Bengals turn it into a shootout, can the Steelers go? Can they do that?
Listen, with that schedule, even if they play their best, they could end up with 2 losses, right? And one of those losses probably are going to be to us. It could be 3 losses because I don't think the Chiefs are going to be a tough, easy game for them, and I don't think that Eagles game is going to be easy for them as well because that's another team that's physical. Chiefs are physical.
Road game too.
We're talking about
go to Philly and come to us.
Mm-hmm. So the way. Now that I kind of see how the schedules are looking and how our schedule looks, I think we have a great opportunity to reclaim the AFC North.
Now you see why I say I think that Browns game was the most important game of the season. They lose that game, they win that game, they set up to take the division. They only got to beat the Browns one more time. They can split with the Bengals and beat the Browns one more time. The division is theirs. We couldn't catch them. Even if we beat them, we still can't catch them because they had a 2-game lead. But the fact they lost that game, it opened everything up for the Ravens. And like I said, that's why they really took advantage. They saw what the Steelers did on Thursday, and they came out last night and took advantage of it. Like you said, we not satisfied, but we definitely content right now going into Sunday.
We approach this Eagles game as I don't want to say must win, but we have a huge amount of urgency to leave that game with a win, so that not only we keep pace, but we put pressure on the Steelers.
We don't know by the time we play what the result is too, because our game at 4 days at 1.
So we might have to pull up because this game going to be big as shit.
I mean, not only that, I mean the Eagles lost a big piece, Brandon Graham, this week with the tricep injury, so that's going to be a key injury, and we'll talk about it more this weekend. But that's a key piece that they'll be missing, and how they kind of stop the run,
and get pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah,
he was killing Stafford before he got hurt. He looked good for him to be that oldest player, he was off the tape. We're gonna break it down, but you got contain Jalen Carter. Yeah, I mean they got some pieces, man.
Their secondary. Their secondary might lock down stuff for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, like I said, there's going to be a different game plan. You might not be able to do that, but Slade is in concussion protocol, so we'll see. Also, but more than likely he should clear the concussion protocol by Sunday. But we'll get more into that game. But it's definitely a big matchup, man.
Yeah, real quick, just touching back to Monday night. Any thoughts about the LA Ravens, the Bozeman's, the J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards? I seen they had Mark Trestman over there, Greg Roman, but it's just tough to see J.K. go out like that, especially against us. Just you hate to see that, but I mean, he looked good in the spot runs he had early on.
His biggest haters in the Ravens fan base, I know they were happy seeing him walk out with a knee injury. Because there's certain people that laughed at him getting knee injuries with the Ravens, which is crazy. Yeah. But, as far as that's concerned, it was just bittersweet and ironic. I'm sure he wanted to at least finish the game healthy. He left the Ravens game versus his old team with a knee injury, same knee injuries that, he was marred with the Ravens. It was just bittersweet and ironic, man. Gus Edwards, he looked like mid, but we knew him to be mid. Again, this is why I can't give all the credit. I can't give all the credit to Derrick Henry. Like, Derrick Henry is a super dude. Like, he is a Hall of Fame running back, but he's never had this efficiency ever in his career. He's never been averaging those 6 yards a carry anywhere.
He was fresher last year, but he just had Will Levis. I mean, like 8 makes a difference. Of course, you go 8, you're gonna be running, like you said, untouched for 7 yards, or they're not going over to do, man. I still think the Ravens they still have untapped potential in offenses. I still don't even think they do all the things they need to do to dominate games. I feel like they shouldn't. I don't think the Ravens should even be in third downs. Really, I really don't. I think they should just be able to just dominate.
3rd and 1 at the least. I mean, listen. Again, the impact of Lamar is different, and you saw it. Like, you can have the most complex run game schemes ever, right? But the thing about the Chargers is it's not like their running statistics were just that great. They just stick to the run. They're a committed team to the run, but as far as like per play and total yards per game, it's not that crazy what they're doing over there as far as the run game. It's a different element when you can add Lamar to that. It's just a different element. It makes it more cohesive. It makes it much more easier to run the ball. The lanes become bigger. You can disguise better. It's just defenders don't know who to defend because Lamar is the 11th man, and most teams you don't have an 11th man on offense. So, as far as your question, Keith, as far as what I think about the former Ravens, I'm looking at Greg Roman. It was like, it's not as easy as you thought it was, even though he's doing a damn good job with Justin Herbert. But I mean, Justin Herbert is ready made. Like, you ain't building Justin Herbert up. If anything, he was holding him back.
Definitely is.
They gave him the motley crew of receivers, same way they did Lamar, and you saw how they lost the game last night.
They still get out the huddle with under 10 seconds left.
When they needed to throw, who did they have to throw?
You did say that.
You had a slot receiver and you had Quentin Johnson. God help us all.
Yeah. They still it's the same Greg Roman.
You said they still getting out the huddle league,
coming out bunched up, getting out the huddle with under 10 seconds. It literally looked the same like the old Ravens. I was like,
bunched up and no confusion created.
Nope.
You just bunch of niggas just
they don't got no Ricard. They don't got, so you can tell us that they just don't, and that's the thing, they don't got no Lamar, they don't got the same pieces, so they run in the same offense and it looks stale. It looks very stale.
Did Gus ever have more yards than carries?
I don't know. I know he got that 7-yard catch with that was pretty much the game over once he caught that ball. Once he got that 7-yard loss, that was it. They look so dejected. Yeah, they look so dejected. It was like, all right, it's over. Like they ain't gonna be able to do nothing with this. But he ain't played well though. I mean, he might have had more.
9 rushes, 11 yards, and they gave him a pity touchdown at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stay in Baltimore, fellas.
That part. Shout out to Justice Hill too. I mean, you talk about somebody who's just like an X factor, but he had the big block pickup on the Mark Andrews touchdown. He's been key in the passing game as a blocker, and then obviously the long rushing touchdown to kind of seal the game. So shout out to Justice Hill when you get somebody like that for what they get him $6 million, and the impact he's had on this offense. He's one of those guys.
And you have to salute him, especially after last week with the wheel route. in the error there with the interception. What he rebounded and made a play for his team, and it is kind of confusion how I know Keaton Mitchell's a fan favorite, but we're so quick to dismiss Justice Hill and try to put Keaton Mitchell in position. Like, yo, Justice Hill has been a consistent guy for us this season. He deserves every little bit of playing time that he gets behind Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. And the one mistake he had last week really wasn't a mistake. It was just a great defensive play from a great defensive team. And to be able to rebound and take, what was it, a third down carry and house it?
Yeah.
You got to give him respect. You got to give him respect.
Listen, that clinch money. He good like that. He good in my book.
Friend of the show. Any clincher parlay? Forever good, Justice. Forever good.
Y'all had him for any time or like yards?
Anytime.
Oh, y'all was bold. Y'all was plus 300, that boy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out to you. So, anything else before we get out of here and get ready for the Eagles game this weekend?
No, I think we covered it.
Yeah. So everybody stay safe, be blessed. We'll be back this weekend as we break down Steelers, Bengals, Ravens, Eagles, and of course we'll do our pick 'em. Everybody stay safe and be blessed. We out.
Stop ducking, Skull.